What if the person you are most afraid to become is the only one who can save you? Not the version of you that smiles when they're supposed to, that says the right things, that keeps it all together while quietly falling apart. I'm talking about the version you buried, the one you were told was too much, too intense, too angry, too ambitious, too wild. That version, the one you've spent your whole life running from. In the next few minutes, the great psychologist of the soul, Carl Jung, is going to reveal why your life feels like a performance. You will understand why you feel a quiet, aching hollowness, even when everything is good. And you will be given the key to unlock the most powerful, authentic, and liberated version of yourself, the one you've been taught to fear. This is not a video about becoming your best self. It is a video about becoming your real self, and the journey begins by facing the one thing you've been avoiding your entire life, your own shadow. Part 1. The gilded cage of the persona. Since you were a child, you have been learning who to be, not who you are, but who you are supposed to be. You were praised for being polite, punished for being loud, rewarded for being agreeable, shamed for being difficult. Slowly, unconsciously, you began to shape yourself according to the expectations of others. You learned to play roles: the good son, the quiet daughter, the responsible student, the agreeable friend. With every fake smile, every "I'm fine" that hid the chaos, you constructed what Jung called the persona, the mask. At first it was a survival strategy, but over time the mask became your identity. You started to believe the lie, that you are who you pretend to be, that the version of you who fits in, who avoids conflict, who keeps everything under control, is who you truly are. But there is a part of you that knows better, a part that whispers late at night, "There is more to me than this." The persona is not the enemy. It is necessary. We all need a way to function in society. But the moment you forget it's a role, you lose something essential. You lose access to your full self. You start censoring your thoughts, dulling your instincts, suppressing your emotions. You call it maturity or professionalism. But in truth, it is self-abandonment. You begin to fear your own power, mistrust your own desires, and hide your own needs. You start confusing approval with love, fitting in with belonging, and control with safety. Think about it. How often do you say yes when you mean no? How often do you smile while feeling resentful? How often do you stay quiet when your soul is screaming to speak? You are not being strong. You are being invisible. The mask may protect you from rejection, but it also shields you from intimacy, purpose, and authenticity. And the longer you wear it, the more disconnected you become from what is real. Jung warned that every calling lies hidden in the shadow of the mask. The version of you that wants to create, to speak truth, to love fiercely, to break rules, that version was exiled into the unconscious so the persona could survive. But survival is not living, and the price you pay for being socially acceptable is your soul. But here is the secret most people never dare to face. The parts of you that don't fit in are not your flaws. They are the keys to your liberation. Your anger is your boundary. Your ambition is your drive. Your desire is your vitality. Your weirdness is your originality. What you repress becomes your prison. What you reclaim becomes your power. The question is, how do you find what has been lost? The answer lies in the part of your psyche that holds everything you've rejected, the shadow, and it is waiting for you to turn around and face it. This is not a metaphor. It is a psychological reality. There is a version of you, a powerful, instinctual, and deeply authentic version that you have been taught to see as an enemy. And the first step on the path to wholeness is to stop fighting and start listening. Part 2. The Kingdom of the Shadow. There is a place inside you where everything you have ever denied, suppressed, or feared has been buried. It is not gone. It did not die. It just went underground. Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious dimension of the psyche where all the parts of you that don't fit the persona are exiled. Every time you felt rage and were told to calm down, every time you wanted to speak up but were told to stay quiet, every time you felt desire and were shamed for it, those parts of you had nowhere to go, so you pushed them down. You tried to forget, and slowly you became smaller, more acceptable, more tame. You think you are in control, but the reality is, your shadow is running the show from behind the curtain. It is that quiet voice of self-doubt that won't go away, that explosive anger that erupts out of nowhere, that shame that floods you when you speak your truth, that pattern that keeps repeating in your relationships, the envy, the bitterness, the self-sabotage, the guilt. That is not just how life is. That is your shadow, directing your life from the unconscious. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You think you are making choices based on reason, on logic, on values. But unless you have done the brutal work of confronting your shadow, much of what you call choice is actually compulsion. It is a defense mechanism dressed up as a plan. It is your wounded inner world projecting itself onto everything you see. And the most dangerous part? The shadow doesn't just hold the things you fear, it holds the things you need. Your power is in the shadow. Your vitality is in the shadow. Your creativity, your sexuality, your confidence, your assertiveness, your raw instinct to live, they are all in there, buried under years of shame and repression. You did not lose them. You locked them away. But now, the vault is cracking, and what's inside is begging to be seen. Most people run. They spend their whole lives avoiding their shadow, terrified that if they let it out, they will become dangerous, selfish, monstrous. They confuse authenticity with destruction. But the real danger is not integrating it, because what you repress will find a way out, through breakdowns, addictions, rage, projection, and emptiness. The shadow doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It only becomes more chaotic. So, the real question is this: do you want to keep pretending you are fine while secretly being ruled by everything you have refused to face? Or are you finally ready to look at what you have hidden? This is the central question of your life. Because the energy you are using to suppress your own truth is the same energy you need to build the life you actually want. The fatigue you feel is not from overwork. It is from the exhausting internal civil war you have been waging against yourself every single day for your entire life. The path to peace is not through victory. It is through surrender. Surrender to the truth of who you are in all your messy, beautiful, and terrifying complexity. This is not a passive surrender. It is an active one. It is the conscious choice to stop fighting a war you can never win, the war against your own nature. And when you stop fighting, something miraculous happens. The energy that was once used for suppression is released. It becomes available to you as creativity, as passion, as purpose. You are not just healing a wound, you are reclaiming a birthright. Part 3. The 4 gates of fear. If integrating your shadow were easy, everyone would do it, but they don't. Because fear stands in the way. Not surface level fear, but existential fear. The kind that threatens your identity, your sense of safety, your belonging. These fears are the invisible chains that keep you divided and trapped. The first fear: if I accept my shadow, I will become a bad person. You have been taught that your darker impulses define your morality. That anger makes you cruel. That ambition makes you selfish. That desire makes you immoral. So you suppress them, convinced that repression equals goodness. But Jung saw this as a tragic misunderstanding. The shadow is not only cruelty or evil, it is everything you were forced to disown. Legitimate rage, healthy sexuality, unclaimed strength, creative fire. When these energies are unconscious, they do become destructive. But when they are conscious, they become choice. Integration doesn't make you immoral, it makes you responsible. A person who knows their capacity for darkness is infinitely safer than someone who pretends it doesn't exist. The second fear: if I am authentic, I will be rejected. And this fear is not irrational. Jung never sugarcoated this. Yes, some people will reject you when you stop performing, when you stop being convenient, when you stop being predictable. But here is the truth you must confront. You are already being rejected, just not by others, by yourself. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, every time you betray your instincts for approval, you reinforce the most painful rejection of all: self-abandonment. You can be accepted for a mask and feel empty, or be rejected for your truth and feel alive. There is no path where everyone approves. You must choose who you are willing to disappoint. The third fear: if I claim my power, I will hurt others. This fear often comes from witnessing power abused, so you associate power with domination and violence. You decide it is safer to be small, passive, harmless. But Jung made a crucial distinction. Repression of power does not make you peaceful. It makes you weak and resentful. True, integrated power is not about crushing others. It is about boundaries, about saying no, about occupying space without apology. When power is denied, it leaks out sideways, through sarcasm, passive aggression, manipulation. Power integrated becomes clarity. Power denied becomes poison. And finally, the most terrifying fear of all: I don't know who I am without my defenses. You have built your entire identity around what you are not. I'm not angry. I'm not selfish. I'm not intense. But what happens when you integrate the very traits you used to define yourself against? Your old identity collapses, and that feels like death. Jung understood this well. Individuation requires a symbolic death, the death of the false self. The ego panics when its familiar structure dissolves. But what feels like annihilation is actually rebirth. You don't lose yourself. You finally meet yourself. These fears are not weaknesses. They are gates. And on the other side of each gate is a version of you that is more whole, more grounded, more real. These are not just fears to be overcome. They are invitations. They are the guardians of your own liberation. And they are asking you one simple question: are you willing to let go of the person you were supposed to be, to become the person you actually are? This is the great existential choice: to remain in the familiar prison of the persona, or to step into the terrifying freedom of the self. There is no right answer. There is only your answer. But know this: the path of the persona leads to a life of quiet desperation. The path of the self leads to a life of authentic and sometimes difficult aliveness. But know this: the path of the persona leads to a life of quiet desperation. The path of the self leads to a life of authentic and sometimes difficult aliveness. Part 4. The sacred work of individuation. Modern culture loves to romanticize self-discovery. Find your true self, they say. As if your soul is a treasure waiting to be uncovered at the end of a peaceful yoga retreat. But Carl Jung knew better. He knew that becoming who you truly are is not a process of discovery. It is a process of destruction. Jung called it individuation. The psychological journey of becoming a whole, integrated self. Not just the socially approved parts, but the full spectrum of who you are. Light and dark, sacred and profane, noble and animal. Individuation is not about adding more to who you are. It is about excavating the truth from underneath layers of programming, trauma, and fear. It is about confronting everything you have spent your life avoiding. You don't find yourself by asking, "Who am I?" You find yourself by asking, "What have I disowned to survive?" And here is the brutal reality Jung revealed. The more rejected a part of you is, the more critical it is to your wholeness. That means the parts you are most ashamed of, your rage, your lust, your ambition, your wildness, are not obstacles to overcome. They are the keys to your liberation. But to claim them, you must go through a kind of death, the death of the persona, the death of the identity you have carefully constructed to be acceptable and lovable. That mask doesn't come off easily. It is fused to your sense of self, which is why individuation hurts. It is not a clean, linear path. It is a descent into the unknown, a confrontation with inner chaos. It often starts with a crisis, a breakup, a burnout, a panic attack, a sense that your life no longer fits. That is the psyche cracking open, demanding to be made whole. And when it does, you don't get to control what comes up. Dreams become darker. Emotions intensify. Memories resurface. Desires you thought were wrong demand attention. The things you judged in others you start to see in yourself. This is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough. Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. To become whole, you must sacrifice the illusion of who you think you are. You must allow parts of your identity to die so something more real can be born. And that rebirth doesn't happen in a therapist's office alone. It happens through experience, through action, through risk, through courage. Individuation is active. It is a daily confrontation. It requires you to step into the world not as the version of yourself that pleases others, but as the one that terrifies you. Because that version is free. And freedom is always terrifying to a psyche trained to survive through submission. This is the final initiation. The moment you stop trying to be good and start trying to be whole. The moment you stop trying to be liked and start trying to be real. The moment you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be free. And in that moment, something profound shifts. The world does not end. The people who matter do not leave. And the monster you were so afraid of unleashing turns out to be the most beautiful, powerful, and authentic part of you. It is the part that knows how to love without condition, how to create without fear, and how to live without apology. It is the part that was there all along, waiting for you to come home. But here is the final, most important secret. The monster you are afraid of unleashing is not a monster at all. It is just you, unedited, unfiltered, unapologetic. And that version of you is not dangerous. It is powerful. It is not selfish. It is self-loving. It is not cruel. It is clear. And it is the only version of you that can truly, deeply, and authentically love, create, and live. This is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong practice, a daily returning, a constant choosing. You will fall back into old patterns. You will catch yourself wearing the mask again. But the difference is, now you know. You have the map, you have the compass, and you have the courage to begin again, and again, and again. Each time you will come back to yourself a little faster, a little more completely. Each time the mask will have a little less power, and each time you will remember that the goal is not perfection. The goal is wholeness. Let's bring this home. You came into this video wearing a mask, a persona you built to be accepted, to be safe, to be loved. You now know that behind that mask lies a hidden kingdom, your shadow. It holds not your evil, but your power, your vitality, your truth. You have been living a life of self-rejection, calling it fate. But that ends today. The journey of individuation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. It is about having the courage to face the parts of yourself you have denied and to reclaim the power you have given away. It is the most difficult and the most important work you will ever do. If this message hit home, If you are ready to stop running from yourself and start the journey of becoming whole, then right now in the comments type, "I welcome my shadow." Not for me, for you. Let it be a declaration, a commitment, the first step on the path to your own liberation. And if this video gave you something real, please like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Wise Daily. Every video on this channel is built to give you one thing: the philosophical tools to live with more power, more clarity, and more intention. We'll see you in the next one.